Okay, welcome back. We'll just call this part 2. Let's continue with opening Visual Studio Code, going to the open the folder by going to File, Open Folder, finding the directory of the Compute 3D Rhino 3D master copy. Go to the source file, ghop server pi, clicking on examples and then selecting the folder at the bottom right. Go to your Explorer in Visual Studio Code, make sure you're looking at the app py and you're ready to start scripting with hops. So let's do that. Let's go over here and basically I will go up here, I will go to File, I will go over to Open Folder, I will find where I believe this is ghmaster copy because I'm making a copy, so I'm going to Desktop, ghmaster compute Rhino 3D master copy, opening that up with a double click, going into that master copy, going into the source file, going into the Pi server, going into examples, but don't open it, select the folder and it will open that up. The only thing you have to do is go into the Explorer, make sure you're looking at the app py. At this point you may want to go in and make sure that you have GitHub Copilot running and all of its other dependencies if you want to use that. If that's done, then let's go back and see where we were. We're back over here. We basically want to come down here to open Rhino 7. Make sure you've installed hops plugin from the package manager, which I've done. Restart Rhino and Grashopper and drag as many hops components in as you like. And then I will show you how to open a terminal in Visual Studio Code, run your Visual Studio script, and get this URL code here to paste into the hops node path, and then followed by a / and the hops name of the functions you want to use. It's that easy. So I'll show that. That seems a little complex, so let's just show how to do that. Let's go back in and get our Visual Studio Code open. You'll see this one actually comes with 4 scripts. It has how to open it, hops flask middleware, from flask, import ghops server. You will have to import every base library thing and get it up and running, but you may have to go to your command line and download special things over in the command prompt to make sure your computer has the installs you need. If that's working, then you can get them and import them into your script. Right now it's using Rhino 3DM, ghop server as HS, and Flask as Flask, and Flask from Flask, import Flask. And then it will run down and it will run that app as that name, and it will kind of package things away hops as hops Flask into HS hops app. And that kind of, it does a little looping around, and conceptually in my mind I have to wrap around what's happening there, but I'm pretty basically happy that I can use that ampersand, not ampersand, that @ symbol to actually start providing some definitions to get things up and running. And you'll see this welcome to Grasshopper hops for CPython. After that, there's 4 examples of how to write a hops component. And once it knows how to write a hops component followed by a definition, you can write anything you want. We're going to start, of course, with a hello script in Grasshopper to get this up and running. So there's one example. There's an example of an add. There's an example of a point add function, which actually uses one of the Rhino 3DM curve items. And you'll see there's a little red wiggle because it's like what's going on there. And the only thing you have to do here, and then the last one is a ruled surface, which allows for 4 points to be constructed and a NURB surface to be built from that. And then you do need this final one. Since I'm not going to be running all of those, I can comment those out and start with something much simpler. But I think what I'll do is just leave the first one and use a triple quote down here at the bottom so we don't get ahead of ourselves. And I'm going to triple quote that out. And you'll see that everything in the middle is gone, and all I have is one function to choose from called bin binary multiplier. And I can come down and make sure you have a terminal open. So you'll come here and go to terminal, new terminal, and that'll pop up at the bottom. And you'll see that it's ready to go. All I do is a command line is hit clear whenever it gets too jumbly, and up at the top I'll hit Control S to save, and I'll hit F5 to run. And then I will run that script, and I'll get this code here that I can copy, and then go back into Rhino, make sure I have Grasshopper up and running. There it is. And we can shrink that down. We don't need that big. There we go. I'll put it in here. You'll see that I have my hops node up here under utilities because I've downloaded it from Package Manager. I can bring it into my screen and I can zoom in. Let's get it set right here as the first item. I can double click on it. It asks for my path. I usually at this point, unless I need to see some geometries, I'm moving so far away from the need to actually use Rhino. Actually, I can't be in that command while I do this. So I'm just going to grab my Rhino and I'm going to downsize it way down to here because I don't really need to see these simple scripts as geometries. But over here, I've got that code. I'm going to copy it again. I'm going to double click here. I'm going to put in the path, / and then come back up here and copy the component I want. Its name in green is binary multiplier. Copy. I'm going to put it in and hit OK, and there we go. We've jumped to the script. I need 2 numbers, and the other thing I do is because I'm not getting into making icons, and I've shown this on a couple of videos, I just type in the name and make that node work, and then I will just grab a couple of number sliders, 3 and 3. You'll see that there's not a warning. There's a warning if you don't have all your inputs. So you have to hover over here and see that it's missing B input, input it. Your script's running, and all you'll need is a basic panel to take a look at your script. And there you go. You've done the first script. But we're going to do something a little more interesting. We're going to hit Control-C down in the terminal to exit it. We're going to type clear to bring it back up to the top so things aren't terrifying to look at. And we are going to go down here to the bottom, and with Github, we will start writing our first components. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm actually intending on creating a massive script, and even though that was a little test script to start, it's not really where I want to begin. What I want to begin with is a really nice a documented code script to take a look at. So I think I've got something that I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to cut and paste these things because I think they're a little faster. If you've gotten used to using the scribble tool, that's all I'm doing is going in and setting the size, and I'm automating the boring stuff with Python. I pick up any text of interest to me. I may actually pick up a book as simple as Linux command line and think of translating that into Grashopper through using this application. But what I've done is I've grabbed a text that I find interesting to myself, and I've started to cut and paste it over. One second. I think I put it in there. I don't think I copied it. Let me copy it here, and let's paste over here. There we go. What have I put in? Basically, I want to start searching for file in a file or across multiple files, create, update, move, rename files and folders, search the web, and download online content, update and format data in Excel spreadsheets of any size, split, merge, watermark, and encrypt PDFs, send reminder emails and text notification, and fill in online forms. So basically, that's exactly what I want to do. And I'm going to, of course, one second, I'm going to do this all with GitHub Copilot, which is pretty exciting. And just because anytime I get excited, I jump in here. I like to put on colors that make me happy in the morning. And I'm going to soften that a little bit because it's too bright for me. And I'm going to put it to blob. And so that's kind of a jivey little thing and answer to start. And the first thing we're going to begin with is I'm going to go in here and put in Python basics. And all I'm doing is cutting and pasting from a text I've done beforehand so I don't make any mistakes. But you can definitely go in here to the scribble node, set your size, type whatever you want, and make your own comments as you go. The first things first is we probably need to say hello to ourselves. And my name's Michael Wickerson, so I'm exactly going to do that. I'm going to go in here, get a file going, type in my name, Michael. I do want to see that become something else, the simplest functions you can think about, and I need a node in between, but I need to write that function. So what would be a way to write something interesting? If I think about this, and I think I've just let me make sure I've got the right Visual Studio Code up and running. There it is. I am going to basically, I don't see anybody there this morning. Let me just test because I'm not watching. I'm not able to watch right now. let me just grab a little script right off the bat, get past those initial ones that I've used. But what would I do? Well, one thing I do to pair this Grasshopper document, because this GH file, is I like to take this text. Now to take it, I can't just copy it in that format. I have to copy it here, and then I want to bring that text over into here. And once again, I'm going to use triple quotes, and I don't like the default of GitHub Copilot doing that for me. I'm going to go down and put the end of the quotes, and I'm basically going to type that text that I had here, if you take a look, that I put in the Grasshopper. To pair these up nicely, I'm going to copy. I'm just going to take that text and put it in this comment line here. So it's going to tell me what I want to do with this script as I go, and keep giving myself space to do it. The other tool I like to use a lot to make my readable scripts is a technique from Parametric Camp, and I really like it. I'm going to jump into, let's see if I have this line. What if I jumped into here and used my ASCII builder, which I love so much, and I always like to use, for some reason, the cap lock shadow ASCII, so I'm just going to say introduction. I love to do that, and I didn't quite have it in. Introduction. Just a nice technique that gets you making some smooth, readable files. And we're going to continue through here. And I'm going to close that out. And I'm just going to take that text and I'm going to pop it in there. And there's our introduction. And I think I hit it right on, except the quotes are after it. And then what would I write? Well, I could write a hello world document. And then what's nice about GitHub Copilot, you just literally start typing hello world. And then it will give you a wrapper, this @ symbol, hops component, tab it over. I'm okay with it being called hello. I'm okay with nicknaming it hello world. And actually, I don't really want to make a hello world document. I want to make a hello document because I don't want to say hello world. I want to say hello to myself. So you can start over, and this is the way you kind of custom with GitHub Copilot. So it's just name hello, nicknames hello, descriptions say hello to the world. I actually don't want to say hello to the world, to someone. And we'll just let that become something. And there we go. It builds our own inputs as a string in and an output string. We're going to keep things very basic to start. We're not going to input all these other things that it can actually interpret and understand. And I'll show you an example of that. If I was to go up here and say, no, I want to type in HS hops, it's trying to finish everything for us. So I'm just going to hit enter so it's not there. But if I go in here and hit this, it's going to predict that I might want, well, it's getting ahead of myself. It actually tries to do all this. What will come out by IntelliSense if I didn't have GitHub are all the awesome things like hops integer, hops boolean, and you can see that the IntelliSense starts to build all these. But we're pretty happy with just letting GitHub Copilot predict what it needs to do. It's going to bring in a hops name as n as an input on a component, and it will give us some information to help us along, and it will do an output of a hop string and have the output as a greeting. Now it has to write a function, and it knows we want to write def function hello, and it will need a string, and it will simply pull that string in as a parameter name, and you see that pairing of the name to the string, and it will return but instead of that, I actually want to print in the console every time I do it. I want to print well, we don't need to print all of that right now. We could just print the name, which is fine because that's coming in. And then let's end that, and let's go down here and return hello. But I don't want to do that. I want to use, because I don't like that long form. I actually want to print with formatting. So that's a better way to format and get that exclamation mark. I don't think we need the exclamation mark. I'm not that excited this morning. So that's how you kind of play around. And if that's running, you can go in and check it with Control S and hit F5, and it should run through and give you that path. If that path is there, we will quickly jump back into our Rhino page, which we have, and we're waiting to grab a hops node, put it into the page, double click, put in the path, / borrow the name hello, and pop it in there and hit OK. Now if everything goes well, it will take my name and it will add hello to it. There's your first Hello World working in Visual Studio Code to deal with Python basics. We're going to go on, we're going to do concatenate, we're going to cast, we're going to do some equivalents, we're going to keep building this file as we go, and literally this file with GitHub Copilot will start to become intelligent as to what is happening next. But why not? What I think of it is kind of, I don't know, I like small boat repair, and whenever you need to get the gas into the gas tank and you're out on the lake, you prime it and you squeeze a little airflow. So you basically prime it with what you want. And if I primed it with concatenate, it's going to try and guess what I want, and immediately it's going to start building a component to concatenate, and you can go through and follow the next one. I'm going to take a break now because it is that easy. That's a lot to go through to entice people to want to do this. The only other small thing I want to do over here is go to the path, copy the name hello again, because I know that's the key word to get this up and running. I'm going to put it into the top name, and I'm going to convert over here to the apply use application setting, which gives me that name. Let's keep in mind that we go here and we hit save document as. We want to save this as a param. This is MGSM. Let's go back into the desktop. Let me think where I'm saving this. Rhino compute copy. Let's go into source code. Hops. There was something in here for building examples and test in GH servers. And test, I can't remember. I'm going to just make a new file and put it as a folder and call it GH scripts. And that's where I'm going to tuck this in here. And I think I'm just going to call it learning Python. What should we call it? No, I think we can call it automate the boring stuff. The boring -001, and we'll call that tutorial. Same as we did last time, and hopefully I'll remember where I've tucked that. I put that in the GH scripts, and I can hit save, and I should be good to go, and there it is. And that's about it. We can go back in after we get that up and running. Let's jump back into this document. We have everything up here with learning Rhino from Grasshopper, learning Grasshopper with plugins, and I'm going to do learning Python with Grasshopper and hops, which I had published, and I'm doing this live on Twitch as we go. So you can see here's an example of this. Don't have any comments this morning. It's early Sunday morning in the Midwest. Everything will be available here on GitHub and Copilot. I have tons of websites that are happening to help this, which is exciting. And then this was the main page to get you up and running. I would recommend that you go to McNeil's Compute AEC Tech 2021. Go right to the 1 hour, 48-minute mark and 46 seconds and start watching what dependencies. And if you watch that for half an hour, you'll be right up to speed where I am. You definitely need to download this as a dependency, and you hardly have to use ASCII to do what I was doing. But that's enough to start. Let's jump in there and get our script up and running. Let's add to it, and let's get our Rhino up and running so we can get in here and start building a pretty awesome script to start. So thanks again for watching, and we'll continue every week making these. And I think in the meantime, I'm going to try and simplify my coding life and complicate it back down to the Linux command line just for fun. Michael Wickerson at Wickerson Studios. Have a great upcoming week.